We got T with I Am the List just joined us on Facebook Live.
Now, what's going on? What's going on?
All right. Y'all ready?
Ready as I'm going to be.
All right. Before we get started and I hit this record button, if you watching, start your watch parties, share, because today we are talking about bankruptcy and the myths. We're going to bust some myths about bankruptcy and how it can actually help you. Or not. We don't know. We're going to figure this out. Okay. We also going to be answering questions about the CARES Act. We got a professional in the house today that's going to be able to answer a lot of those questions for you guys. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We want to be able, he's here to help you. So ask away.
Please do. It's imperative that you ask away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. And yeah, and don't mind my hat. I'm going to be wearing this hat the whole time COVID is because I need to get to the salon, so don't mind this hat. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Tales from the Grind. I'm your host, Erica Harvell. I'm in the studio today with Mr. I am Corey Bill Sr. Say what's up, Corey.
What's good, my people? What's good? What's good?
Back from last week, and who did we talk to last week?
Victor Chapman, duh. What the hell your head been at?
Man.
Victor, you hear that? She forgot about you already.
I could never forget about the DJ.
Oh, my
Never.
God. Did you hear the song? Did you look up the song last Sunday?
I haven't
Saved
had
My
time.
Life?
I have not had time.
And that's how she forgot who we spoke to last week.
I know y'all saw on Facebook today where I said, like, I'm feeling overwhelmed with the business behind COVID-19 and everything that our business is doing to pivot. A lot of businesses are having to pivot right now, and that's creating new strategies and figuring out who our target customers are all over again because the environment is changing. And so I just feel like I am really, really busy with that. So no shade, Victor Chapman. You are very special, and we appreciate your interview.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, it was one of the most successful ones that we had. Aside from everybody was successful, but it was a very, very high level interview. In the studio today, we have with us Mr. Hollins. Michael Hollins from Hollins Bankruptcy, and he's going to talk to us today about our finances post COVID-19. Say what's up to the audience today.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Attorney Michael Hollins.
Oh, we need you to speak up.
Hello, everybody. This is Attorney Michael Hollins.
Can we turn his mic up? Okay. So everybody wants to know this one question. So, like, when I knew that Michael was going to be on the show today, and he, told me that he was a bankruptcy attorney, I immediately started thinking about Blacks in bankruptcy and what we think about bankruptcy. And so he's going to bust a lot of those myths for us today. And I know I've heard it time and time again. I don't want to file bankruptcy because it's going to mess up my credit. And go ahead and kind of bust that myth. Like, we know that it takes your credit down, but what does it in fact do for your credit?
Yeah, well, so absolutely. A lot of folks are asking that question, what will happen to my credit? And in the short term, if you're thinking short term, you may take a hit. However, in the long term, if you have financial goals that require you to acquire certain assets, and that's ultimately what people want to do, then it can be very beneficial. And I've seen it be a solution for a lot of people.
Right.
So I've seen people who have been at, I'll just throw a number out there. Let's just say 550, 530, close to 600. And their goal was to buy a home. And they couldn't get there based on a lot of different factors. So when we came in and we had the conversation, we understood that underwriters are saying, hey, 2 years post bankruptcy, if you prove yourself to be worthy, then you can be in the house. So the question really became not what will it do for my credit, but will I be able to attain the asset or the property in this case that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
And can I get there quicker by attempting to pay my creditors, negotiate with my creditors, and, get the income in to still take care of my everyday things. I got a family. I got to feed them. I got to pay the bills. Can I still pay off my creditors and raise my credit to a level where a mortgage company will take a chance on me, in 2 years?
Right.
That became the question. And the answer was, well, I haven't done it in the last 2 years or the 2 years before that or the 2 years before that in this case. And so they say, you know what, I'm going to do it that way. And actually, that person ended up purchasing a home. It was actually not even 2 years. It was like a year and a half.
Right.
They came out of bankruptcy and showed themselves to be worthy, And a lot of times that's what I see. People, myself, my personal story, I made a lot of mistakes in my 20s. And I paid for it in my 30s.
Right.
Absolutely. Say that again.
So when I got to my 40s, I was ready to do it the right way. But I had to clean up what happened in the 20s. And so I spent a lot of time in the 30s going back and forth. And it's not just money. We talk about personal decisions I made in the 20s. I still had to pay for in my 30s. And so when I got things turned around financially and otherwise, then I kind of seen the blessing of kind of, doing things the right way. And sometimes, that's what we need. And that's what bankruptcy really is. It's just a fresh start. That's what we call
clean slate. Yeah.
Why do you think so many African Americans or minorities are afraid of bankruptcy versus it? The white people are readily, like, they understand it, but most minorities are afraid of it. Why do you think that is?
We just don't have the information. A lot of information, sometimes misinformation, is passed from one person to another, and we really don't seek out those who have the good information that we need.
Okay, hold on. Let's repeat that. Misinformation amongst ourselves is passed on, and that's hurtful to our community.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So again, you're right. In a lot of different areas, and bankruptcy is no different. And so that's why I have, a lot of different myths. I like to just kind of bust people open with them and say, hey, these are some things that are not true. Mm-hmm. One of those things is I hear a lot, can I keep my car? Can I keep my house? And after we have our conversation, a lot of times the answer is there's a way to do that and discharge debts that are, got the folks calling you. There's a way to do it. But the realer question is, should you keep your house? Should you keep the car? Because that may be, maybe what triggered and got us where we at.
Right. Yeah.
Me being as a former licensed banker, I dealt with many clients as well. And I know one of the things that we talk about when it comes to bankruptcy, because I've suggested bankruptcy to a few of my clients, is that it's a shame that comes with it. We have a shame. We feel like we failed when we bankrupt. In our community, we demonize bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
So if you lose the house, if you lose the car, you're more concerned about what your friend think about you because of this lifestyle that you probably put on a facade for has come crashing down.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main reasons I know that we don't do bankruptcy, within the community and the people who I've spoken with. So I tell folks all the time, when I filed for bankruptcy, did I want to do it? No. But when I understood the laws, it was like giving me a cigar. Hey, we're going to check. We finna start this shit all the way over.
Right.
Because you have an opportunity. And I was able to still keep my lag. I had a pearl white lag, and I thought I was bossed up. But you did what I'm saying? But I still kept my lag. I paid off some debts. I rebuilt my credit. And at the time, I attempt to do things the right way. But it's a mindset more than anything else, because what you said something so key. I'm 42 years old. So me and you probably grew up thinking that we do what the hell we want to do in our 20s. Mm-hmm. We become grown in our 30s, and we figure this shit out in our 40s, right? We know what to do going forward. Right. So, it's a lot of shame to that. I'm just going to speak back to your question. That's one of the myths. There's no shame about filing bankruptcy. Let me tell you guys something. Our president did at least 7 to 8 bankruptcies from a business side, and that's how he constantly kept getting businesses, because he understands the laws. So to Eric's good point, being grossly uneducated about how bankruptcy can be beneficial for you. Yeah. And the hell with what your friends think right now, especially during COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
Because the playing field is even, and amongst all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree, and I think like for me, like I said, I filed bankruptcy back in 2011.
We did the same. I think same time. I think mine was two, and I was going through a divorce. My divorce was
Yeah, it was
over
right
in
after my
2010,
divorce. Yeah,
2011. Same here. We
Yeah.
did the same thing. Yep.
and I was able to buy. I was able to buy a house, a $236,000 house.
Fresh out of it.
I built it from the ground
wow.
up.
Yeah.
5 bedrooms. Like I had promised while going through the whole bankruptcy stage, I had promised my kids that they were going to each have their own room.
You know what's so crazy about mine? I'm happy you said that. Did this shock you? The credit cards that I put in debt
Was calling me
back off me a higher damn limit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you ain't been, sit these 3 months out.
Yeah.
Fall back.
Yes.
Yeah, you're very attractive to creditors. Once you go through bankruptcy, you have a clean slate and they know it.
Yeah.
And they want to be first on the list in the event that you fall back. Like you say, if you fall back into the wary ways, they want to be right back,
Or
right
if you
back
do
on
it
the
the
list.
right way, they want to
earn on
They
it.
want to earn on it. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
But the thing is to not fall back.
We fall down.
We get up.
Hey. Excuse me.
Yeah, the Corey and Erica choir. The Donnie McClurkin.
The Donnie McClurkin.
Yeah.
Right.
So the second myth is that, I see a myth on here that bankruptcy. Okay.
Say it with me.
It's the
Bankruptcy.
overbite. It's
My
the overbite. No.
Was you drinking before you got up there? Yeah,
No,
you forgot, I guess.
I told you I was up to 3 a.m. working.
Man.
And then my alarm clock, I set the alarm clock at 5 a.m. and Salesforce called and woke me up at 7:24. So I'm on 3 hours sleep.
I'm going to get that to you.
Yeah.
I get that to you.
That's why I'm so silly right now. I get really silly when I'm
you're
sleepy.
sleepy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But bankruptcy relief is no longer available. Like, so where did that myth come from? And
Yeah, I hear that a lot. People feel like there is like a cap on it. Like after so many people file, then I can't file, or I've already filed in the past, so I can't file again. And that's just simply not true. While you can file in some cases,
so you don't have to wait the 8 years to refile?
well, if you get a discharge, you have to wait the 8 years. But we have Chapter 7. We also have Chapter 13.
I thought Chapter 7 was 7 years.
It's 7 years, and then you get into that 8th year, and then you can file again.
You can file again. Okay.
Ultimately is 8 years.
All right. Mm-hmm.
But you only have to wait 4 years if you're looking to do a Chapter 13 behind the Chapter 7 with a discharge.
So can you explain to the listeners the difference between the Chapter 7 and the Chapter 13? And then for the listeners, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask questions on me and Erica, Facebook Live. We got the live going on. We will get your questions answered live. All right. But yeah, can you please explain the difference between the two?
Yeah. So Chapter 7 is the most common form of bankruptcy. It's the liquidation procedure, basically. We call that a fresh start. That's the one where somebody's coming in and they're saying, hey, I want to get rid of all of my unsecured debt and I will deal with my secured debt. Now, secured debt is just simply someone who has, you have property of some sort and you got credit from that creditor for that property. That could be a house, that could be a car, Rent-A-Center. Think about Rent-A-Center, that kind of thing. And so then you have options with your secured debt. You can either give it back and say, no, I truly want a fresh start. Or you can reaffirm that debt and say, no, I'm going to keep this car. I'm going to keep this mortgage, continue to pay it, and I'd like to keep it. And that is that's an option also.
Does it lower your payment if you reaffirm the debt? Like in a bank, is this a Chapter 7 we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And so does it lower your payment at all?
Not in Chapter 7. You're really reaffirming what you already agreed to, and you're just continuing to pay that.
Okay.
It's almost like it's not a part of the bankruptcy estate. But the unsecured creditors, which is just the credit card debt, a lot of times it is health bills. I see that quite a bit. Those folks are distinguished, or extinguished, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So those go away. And that's where you get the fresh start. You no longer get the phone calls. Sometimes some folks are being garnished. And they're like, I'm being garnished because of a tax bill from 5 years ago. Well, taxes, actually, a lot of people don't understand, if it's 3 years out, those can even be, in a lot of cases,
Oh, wow.
those can also
Discharge,
be
right.
correct.
So when you do a Chapter 7, in so many words, it's like you're giving yourself a pay raise.
It feels
Because
that
when you
way.
alleviate that debt that you were paying out, you was paying minimum, you got some income coming back in.
Sure.
Okay.
What's the debt limit, like the minimum amount of debt that you have to be able to file Chapter 7? Isn't there or is this another myth?
That's another myth.
Oh, wow.
There is no minimum amount. You can be $100,000, $200,000, or $10. I mean, is it wise to file bankruptcy if you're only $10?
Yeah, right.
Pay the $10, go home.
What if somebody has like $5,000 of debt? I know someone who has like, I think the carpet at their apartment complex, like their washing machine burst and it like ruined the carpet for a couple of apartments around his, and he owes like $2,500, $3,500, maybe $5,000, I don't know, of to that apartment complex for them having to replace that carpet. So if that's all that's on his credit, would you recommend that he do a bankruptcy? Or
everybody's different. I would have to talk to that person to see what his financial goals are. Okay. If he says to me that they are garnishing my check because of
I think they just started garnishing his,
and that is affecting his quality of life such that he can't get the necessities in life, then I would say, yeah, it's absolutely an opportunity.
Okay.
And a lot of times you can negotiate out of situations like that through your bankruptcy attorney. A letter with the letterhead on it that says, hey, we about to file. You want to come to the table and talk to us?
Right. Oh, wow. Okay.
So sometimes you don't have to go down that route. Again, that goes back to what you said. Just come talk to the folks who have this information. And, again, a lot of good stuff can come from that. So, yeah.
So what's Chapter 13? You explained Chapter 7, Chapter 13 for the listeners.
Yeah. Now, Chapter 13 is a reorganization of debt. Chapter 13 is where someone doesn't qualify for Chapter 7. There's an income requirement to Chapter 7.
What's that?
It depends on how many folks are in your household.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, depending on how many people you take care of. If you don't fall within what they consider to be a Chapter 7 income, well, then you kind of pushed yourself to Chapter 13. Chapter 13 says, well, we're not going to discharge all of your debt, but we'll reorganize it such that you'll have one payment to pay everybody off within 3 years or within 5 years. And if you do your part to make those payments timely, then everybody at that point is discharged.
Okay.
So it's just a little longer process, but it's helpful when you are behind on your mortgage. If you are 2-3 months behind, you want to keep that house. Chapter 13 will allow you to get caught up. And that's what Chapter 13 ultimately does for a lot of people. I see that more than anything.
And that could be helpful right now because of COVID and the mortgage payments. Or would you even recommend that?
Yeah, see, now, Chapter 13 in of itself is a lot to swallow. When you look at the pandemic and what the CARES Act is doing with homeowners right now, and even with renters, there are just so many intricate options that they have.
Hold on, they have options?
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, like, elaborate what the CARES Act.
That's a good word, options.
Right. Well, elaborate what the CARES Act will do for the mortgage owners and renters. I didn't even know renters had, even some play into this.
Yeah. So the CARES Act, basically, if you're a homeowner, let's start with them. If you're a homeowner, the CARES Act says if you fall behind for a COVID reason, then you have a federally backed loan. We're talking FHA, Sallie Mae, Freddie Mac, all those folks. Then you have the option to enter into a forbearance.
Okay.
Now, the forbearance just simply hits the pause button. It says, okay, we're going to...
You just took me back to my student loans. My God.
We can have a student loan conversation.
We ain't going to talk about that.
The CARES Act touches student loans also.
Oh, okay. Continue.
Now, I understand that. Yeah. So the CARES Act, it basically just pushes the pause button and says, okay, you don't have to pay your mortgage for 6 months, let's say, 180 days right now. And there are options, we believe, where you may be able to extend that. We'll see. But the idea is that if you can, within 6 months, if you can get your finances back such that you can get back on track, then basically you can keep that house and you can kind of not necessarily have to deal with bankruptcy at that point. It's going to be tough, though, because a lot of folks with their incomes stopping understand that the payments don't stop. So that 6-month forbearance just push pause. They're going to push play at some point.
Right.
Does it add up? Like, so are they going to want that full 6 months when the play button is hit again?
That's where I talk about the options that come in. Because at that point, that is absolutely the creditor's option to, hey, I want it all back and I want it now. And that's where you have to ask the questions because they're not going to tell you. You got to say, well, what are my options for refinance?
Okay.
And they're going to give you the options probably that favor them. Okay. But the question I'd like everybody to ask their mortgage company is there a repay option that allows me to pay the arrearage at the back end of my mortgage?
Hey, if y'all got pen and pad, y'all want to write that down. That was a free game alert that he just gave you guys. So will you repeat that one more time for the people in the back? Say it loud for the people in the back.
Sure. You want to ask those questions. You want to ask, is there a repay amount that allows me to pay my mortgage, the arrearage on my mortgage, on the back end of my loan? Let them answer that question. There should be options available. They may not give them to you right off the cuff.
Right, but you have to ask the question. Now, what about folks that's renting? How does the CARE Act protect the renter?
So basically, the protection for renters is the evictions stop. In the state of Tennessee right now, the courts are closed. State courts are closed. Federal, we're still doing our thing. The state courts. So Tennessee, you cannot evict anybody for the month of April. That's all we know. Come May 1st, we're not sure if they're going to open the courts up. Really, it'd be May 4th. We're not sure if they're going to open up the courts to this type of litigation. Maybe they'll give us another reprieve in May. We don't know. We're waiting to see.
Wow.
But my advice to folks who are paying any type of shelter payment, and we are in a shelter in place right now, pay to keep your shelter. That is the number one. If you can, pay your mortgage. If you can, pay your rent. Because you don't want to be in a position to have to ask the question, how can I get caught up? If you can. Now, if you legitimately cannot pay it, then understand that there's going to be some things that you can do. And the CARES Act is for you. But if you can pay your shelter bills, pay for your rent, pay for your mortgage, and understand, you're paying rent to a lot of times in Nashville. Landlords aren't millionaires.
Right.
Landlords, folks who own these homes.
They need it too to pay their mortgage on the home that you're renting.
You are dealing with somebody in the same position as you.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability to pay your rent, you are actually, helping our community. And a lot of times it's us. We own our homes and we do right by each other a lot on that. I've seen more right than wrong. We don't get credit for us doing right. We do a lot of right when it comes to our landlords and putting folks in homes and things. So,
that's good.
I mean, that's the purpose of this radio show, so we can share that narrative, right?
Yeah.
So we can talk about the people that's doing right.
Yeah.
Such as yourself. So
we have a question from the chat. Mr. Sean Dupree says, does Mr. Hollins advise clients to consider the higher cost of borrowing in determining if bankruptcy is the right choice?
I guess I need to follow up and ask what he means by the higher cost of borrowing.
Okay.
Is he saying that interest rates are higher post-bankruptcy, if that's what he means?
Can you clarify your question for us, Mr. Dupree? And then we will
I'm gonna get back to it.
Yeah, we'll re-ask. Wakius, I am inside behind the mic. My mask is in the car.
What's that, Wakius Hereford?
Yeah.
Hey, Wakey, man. Hey, don't get on her just yet, man. She only on 3 hours of sleep, bro. Come on now, like she already on her Looney Tunes.
Oh man, yeah.
So you want to talk about the CARES Act as well. So another topic, man. Some of my the nonprofit that I'm a part of, a lot of my board members, they're still paying student loans.
Okay.
Right, and they were talking about that, and I think Joe Biden is on a record of trying to clear.
Yeah, but okay, so Mayor Cooper actually responded to some of the petitions that a lot of us signed, and he said that it just isn't realistic.
It's not realistic?
Yeah.
Okay.
To have student loans forgiven.
More widespread.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does the CARES Act affect those, since it's not, as Cooper say, and probably other politicians may say, no, we can't really do that. Mm-hmm. How does it protect the people that's paying it back?
Yeah, so the CARES Act does offer protections for some student loans, not all. And that's the key, is finding out what type of student loan you have. So direct loans, FFEL loans that are turned over to the Department of Education, those will fall under protections from the CARES Act. However, Perkins loans, they generally don't qualify. Okay. Now, you could have a Parent Plus loan. There are two types. There's one that is direct PPL or direct Parent Plus loan. Those do qualify. But if you have a Parent Plus loan that is not tied to that, it is a FEEL PPL. That one does not qualify.
Oh, wow. So they need to figure out what type of loan they have to see if they qualify for the forbearance. Or is it a forbearance? Or?
So what are the protections if you do qualify? You can currently have an interest rate that is zero, lower to zero right now, and no payments will be required of you right now. Kind of like a forbearance.
Okay.
But, now, if your loans are already in default, no collections can occur right now during this COVID season, and there is no tax offset. So if somebody was not filing their taxes intentionally because they know it's going to be offset because of student loans, go on and file them. You know, they can't take it from you right now.
A part of me just want to say offset like Cardi B when he said offset, but I'm just just in my head. I was just going off.
Okay, so Mr. Dupree responded. He said higher percentage rates.
Okay, yeah. So that is true.
Okay.
Maybe I'll finish talking about student loans and I'll get back to that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Just to be clear, again, no offset, no wage garnishments can happen for student loans right now. Now, talking to folks who are behind right now, one of the things that you may want to consider doing is rehabilitating your loan right now, because a student loan can be rehabilitated with 6 on-time payments.
Okay.
You get credit for an on-time payment during COVID
season. Okay.
So if you were to rehabilitate your loan tomorrow, you don't have to pay, but that starts your 6 months.
Okay.
So it is potential that if this act continues on for 6 months, folks could come out of rehabilitation, be available to go back to school, get financial aid again, and or work out opportunities.
What?
Absolutely.
Man, it's solid.
Yeah.
For sure.
When I say opportunities, there are a lot of opportunities, and I'm skimming the surface here a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's important that, you talk to your bankruptcy attorney, you talk to your attorneys and your folks.
Mr. Hollins.
Yeah, definitely call Mr. Hollins, right.
Y'all know I like coffee, but look, yeah. So I got me a new coffee cup.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Oh, it don't matter. I'm
the coffee drinker. I haven't seen her sip a damn
call Mr.
cup of coffee in about 5 episodes. I always come here with coffee. Matter of fact, when we poured up, I was like, "Damn, I don't got my coffee."
Yeah, but I'm the special one. I'm the pretty one.
I would not argue against that.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the key, like you said earlier, is to go to studentloans.gov, and it's going to clearly say on there if you have a FFEL, a direct loan, a Stafford loan. Direct loans and FFEL loans that are turned over to the Department of Education, those all fall under the Act. So that's what you're looking for, just to sum that up.
Okay. All right. That's some great news. Like Wakey said, that's awesome news for, people who have student loans.
Absolutely.
I know I have student loans, but they're under the IDR at the moment.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But it originated somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so there's another myth that married couples must file bankruptcy together. That's a myth?
That is a myth, So I've been married before, and we didn't do a lot together.
That's why he said been married before?
That's a person who said.
You can't go first.
All of us. We can talk about that, right?
Past tense, yeah.
Past tense. That is a myth. One person can file, and the other person can be untouched. A lot of times what you run into is that two married couples, they're on the same asset. They're on the title of something together, So even if he filed, let's say, she's still on the hook for the balance of it. So sometimes couples work together and say, well, we either got to file together to get this off our plate, or we just not going to do it. So.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So we are almost out of time. Well, not almost. We're right at the end.
Right at the end?
Yeah.
Wow, this has been a great
It
conversation.
has been an awesome conversation. And so we are going to ask Mr. Hollins for one final word.
Okay. And I did actually prepare something.
Okay.
I didn't prepare it. I don't want to take credit for it, but whoever posted this, it is wonderful. And I don't know who posted it, so I can't give him credit. But one thing I wanted to point out is that, everyone, we're going through this pandemic, but we're not in the same boat, even in our communities. But I've heard that we're in the same boat, but it's not like that. We're in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. So your ship could be shipwrecked and mine could not, or vice versa. For some, quarantine is optimal. A moment to reflect, reconnect, easy to flip-flop, put on your flip-flops, cocktails and coffee. For others, it's a desperate financial and family crisis. For some that live alone, they are facing endless loneliness. While the others, it's the peace and rest that they need. With a $600 work increase in unemployment, some are bringing in more money to their households than if they were working. Where others, they're working more hours because they still got to work. They're essential and they pay less, due to pay cuts or loss in sales. Some families of four, they received $3,400 in stimulus, while other families of four didn't receive anything. Some have faith in God and expect miracles during this season. Others say it's the worst time to come. It's just different perspectives, people going through the same thing. So, friends, we are not in the same boat. We are going through a time where our perceptions are just completely different. Each of us will emerge out in our own way from this storm. It's very important to see beyond what is seen at first glance. Look closely, and let's talk and connect with one another. We may not can touch each other, but we can sure connect and talk. We are all on different ships during this storm, experiencing a very different journey.
Wow.
So I thought that was good.
Yes, that was
I almost want to start just.
Man, yeah.
Way to go.
Why are all the good quotes unknown or anonymous?
That was dope. That was very profound. That's a word for the season. Well, man, you said we almost got a couple of seconds left?
Yeah.
Hey, how can they find you, brother? The folks want to know.
I'm easy to find. My number is, again, Attorney Michael Hollins, Hollins Bankruptcy Law Office. My number is 629-777-5505. Office at 30 Music Square West, Suite 204. However, during COVID season, the office is wherever you at.
Oh, I love it. Pivot. Yes. I love it. Pivoting for the people. And we will share his information below in the comments as well. Highly recommend that you reach out to him if you're feeling the pinch and want to just explore your options. But we are out of time, and I got to rush to my next meeting.
You and I both.
Yeah, but see you guys next week. Oh, on Monday at the next town hall. We'll see you guys then. Love you. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Share the podcast.
Share the podcast, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Hollins.
You're welcome. Thanks for
Peace,
having
man.
me.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bye.
That was a great show.
It was a great show.
Was it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I went.
real good.
I'm way over prepared. Y'all right.
No, we want to have you on the town hall. So everything, we can finish the conversation on the town hall on Monday night.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. You nailed it. I want. Do you mind sending me that?